Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome you to this conversation on food for the liver. And we have with us Miss Aparna Nemalikanti, who's the Chief Dietitian of Virinchi Hospitals, Hyderabad. Ma'am, good to have you with us. I welcome you to this session and you can introduce yourself and take it forward from here.
Thank you, Mr. Paniel. And I'm Aparna, Chief Dietitian from Virinchi Hospitals. I've done my master's in 2004 and I worked for a cancer hospital for 10 years. And I'm into right now Virinchi Hospitals, which is a multi-specialty hospital. I'm a registered dietitian and I have been awarded as a best counselor and I have also awarded for the International Patient Safety Conference for the best poster. And I have completed my triple L ISPEN 6 credits. And I have been to many workshops, mostly ISPEN and ASPEN workshops. And I'm also an active member in IDA. So without any further delay, let us roll into the session. So let me share the screen panel. So today we'll be talking about this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Usually we see that when we consume alcohol, people get fatty livers or liver problems. So without consuming any alcohol, how a person gets his fatty liver, that we are going to discuss today. Next slide. Now, before we commence this webinar, let us be little interactive. Okay, so I would like you all to guess or answer these questions. So, what is the largest organ in our body? So, spleen, liver, kidney, or lungs? Can anybody? I mean, if anyone wanted to answer, they can put it in their chat box. Now, if you see, the largest organ in the body is, can you guess? Can anyone guess? I got one answer. Liver, yes.
I thought it is skin.
I also thought it's skin, but if you're talking about organs within the body, within the body, then it's the liver. Okay.
Liver. It is 1500 grams weight.
Wow.
Okay, so this is the thing. And now, what is the enzyme or acid that helps in the digestion and absorption of fat? I'll give you some choice. Is it HCl hydrochloric acid or trypsin or amylase or bile?
Is it the bile?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Of course, bile. Okay. Now, what percentage of liver is essential to, whether it is 10 to 20% or 20 to 30%, 20 to 50% or 60%?
I would say 60. This is like Kon Banega Crorepati. Okay.
It is 10 to 20%.
Okay.
So 10 to 20% of have to sustain life. Now, what are the main functions of liver? Okay. Now, is it metabolism of carbohydrate, proteins, and fats, or storage and activation of vitamins and minerals, formation and excretion of bile, conversion of ammonia to urea, or all the above? So what is the main function of the liver?
I think all the above.
All of the above.
Yeah, all the above.
All of the
Excellent.
above. Yeah.
Yes, all the above. So the main function of the liver is to metabolize the carbohydrate, protein, and fat. It stores all the vitamins and minerals, and it excrete. There is a formation of and excretion of bile, and it converts ammonia, which is toxic, into urea. Now, what are the other functions of liver? Now, if you see, detoxification is the main important function. whatever alcohol, drugs, and organic substances, that is these pesticides and chemicals from vegetables, and other preservatives, what are all, I mean, all these organic substances, what all we consume, they get they are detoxified in the liver. Now, also liver acts as a storage organ. It stores all the vitamins and minerals. Hence, it is always said that if a person is taking a fat soluble vitamin, especially vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E or K, then they have to check for their serum levels, blood levels. Otherwise, without any knowledge, if they are taking more of these fat soluble vitamins, they get stored in the liver and they become toxic. So, for example, if you see excess of iron consumption may lead to a problem called hemochromatosis, and excess of copper will cause Wilson's disease. So, like this, there are many problems which occur when there is excess consumption of fat soluble vitamins. But if there is a consumption of water soluble vitamins, there isn't any harm because they are not stored in the liver. Okay, and excess of it can be flushed out through the urine. Now, liver also acts as a filter and flood chamber by removing bacteria and debris. Now, what exactly is NAFLD? It is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is of two types. That is non-alcoholic fatty liver and also non-alcoholic NASH, steatohepatitis. Okay. So what exactly happens is, if you can see here, the lipids, that is fat, whatever we are consuming from the diet, and fat present in our body, that is in the adipose tissues, both combine together and enter the liver for oxidation. That is, the fat has to be metabolized and it has to be used in the body. But what happens here is, because of improper oxidation of the fat accumulates in the liver. Okay, because of which we see this condition called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now, what is the main difference of NAFL, fatty liver, and also NASH? Okay, so the main difference is, in fatty liver there is only accumulation of fat, but in NASH there is also inflammation, that is swelling of the liver, and also the liver cells get damaged, and which leads to cancer and also cirrhosis. Cirrhosis is a liver condition where there is the liver gets fibrosed and the cells get damaged, and there is accumulation of water in the liver, abdomen, all the abdominal part of the body. Now, maximum conditions are seen, maximum people we see non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is 80%, and people who are having NASH are only 20%. Okay, and if they do not follow diet or other prescribed things, then they slowly progress from NAFL to NASH. What are the causes of NAFLD? And experts are still trying to search for the causes. The two main important causes for NAFL are genes, genetic predisposition, and also inefficient fat metabolism, which leads to too much of fat accumulation, and people tend to develop fatty liver. So, and what are the symptoms of NAFL? So, we usually see that in ultrasound scans, we come to know that we have grade 1 fatty liver, grade 2 fatty liver, grade 3. So, grade 1 is okay, it is very common for everybody, but grade 2, grade 3 are little alarming, and we have to see and scrutinize our diet accordingly. So people neglect all these fatty livers, And are there any symptoms to know what exactly is happening? No. Usually there are no symptoms. It is a silent disease, and there are no symptoms seen. But even if there is a symptom, it is like feeling tiredness and having discomfort in the upper side of your right side of your abdomen. Now, what are the health conditions responsible to develop non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? Now, overweight or obesity is one of the reason, and insulin resistance, which is nothing but type 2 diabetes, and abnormal levels of fat in your blood, which may include again high levels of triglycerides, then abnormal levels of cholesterol, high total cholesterol, high low density lipoprotein cholesterol, and low high density lipoprotein cholesterol. Sorry, high density cholesterol. Then metabolic syndrome, which is a combination of both obesity, overweight, and diabetes. And here metabolic syndrome is defined by the doctors as large waist size, high levels of triglycerides in your blood, low levels of HDL cholesterol, high blood pressure, and higher than normal blood glucose levels, or a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. And having more of these health condition increases your chances of developing NASH. And when you lose weight, you can reverse this condition from NASH to NAFL, that is from inflammatory stage to normal fatty liver stage. And if weight is not maintained and diet is not taken properly, then you go back to the same inflammatory state, that is NASH, and which again progresses to cirrhosis and even cancers. So genes is also one of the causes of this NAFLD. Now, if you see, because of obesity, what are all the problems we get? Like brain stroke is one of the causes of obesity, then cataracts, then coronary heart diseases, dyslipidemia, then pancreatitis, cancers, and phlebitis, nothing but blood clot in the feet because of sedentary lifestyle. Then gout is also one of the reasons, then osteoarthritis, then organic problems, gallbladder diseases, and non-alcoholic fatty liver, and pulmonary diseases. These are all the conditions which we see because of morbid obesity. Now, when a person has an abnormality of these enzymes, like AST and ALT, these are all the liver enzymes, and also along with them, if he has obesity and also diabetes and metabolic syndrome and sleep apnea and insulin resistance, all this, then he should suspect that he has some problem, and he should work up for this NAFLD. Now, are there any medications for them for this specific condition? No. So no medicines have been approved to treat NAFLD, and however, researchers are trying for that. Now, many people take dietary supplements to reduce their weight, and also complementary or alternative treatments, herbal remedies they follow. But these are all dangerous, and they damage your liver further. Now, we should also check for these abnormalities, like if the waist circumference is more than 1 or 2 centimeters in men and more than 88 centimeters in women, then we have a chance of getting NAFLD. Also, if triglycerides are more than 150, HDL is less than 40 in men and less than 50 in women, and blood pressure more than 135 by 85. Fasting blood sugar, it should be around 70, but if it is more than 100, and increased visceral fat is also a risk factor of CAD, dyslipidemia, and stroke. So these are all conditions which we have to bear in mind to prevent this NAFLD. Now, how do doctors treat this condition? So NASH can be treated by using some of the symptomatic procedures. Some of the medicines and some surgeries are also involved, but people with liver failure, complete liver failure, liver transplantation is mostly used. And to prevent NAFLD, eating habits should be changed, and we have to maintain our BMI so that we do not increase our weight and do not accumulate excess fat. So before we go on to treat NAFLD, we have to know what exactly fat is and its metabolism. So body weight. So what exactly comes into the body weight? What is body weight? So is it bones and muscles? It is only the organs in the body? So let us see. So if you see the sum of bones, muscles, organs, and blood fluids and adipose tissue, all this are nothing but the constitute a body weight. And there are two components called the fat mass and the fat-free mass. Fat mass is nothing but the fat present in the brain, skeleton, and adipose tissue, and fat-free mass is water, protein, mineral components. And fat-free mass is usually constant. Fat mass changes. Okay. And lean body mass, usually people assume that fat-free mass is lean body mass, but it is not. And lean body mass is nothing but pure muscle, and which determines the resting metabolic rate. That is how much energy we require when we are resting. That is nothing but our resting metabolic rate. And total body fat is nothing but the essential fat and the storage fat. Now, essential fat is the fat required for the normal physiological functions, which is available in various body organs. That is 3% it should be in men, and 12% it should be in women. Now, storage fat is the energy reserve primarily as triglycerides in adipose tissue. This fat accumulates under the skin around the organs and provides cushioning effect to the internal organs. That's why women has more amount of this storage fat. Now, there are two conditions called hyperplasia and hypertrophy. Hyperplasia is nothing but the increase in the cell number, and hypertrophy is increase in the fat cell size. Okay, from childhood onwards, if a girl or a boy, if a child is on an overweight side or obese, it falls under a obese category, then there is always an increase in the fat cell size, and also the number of cells increase. But when a person exercises, okay, or is under starvation or any illness, then the cell size decreases, but the number of fat cell doesn't decrease. Hence, one has to bear in mind that fat, as a number of fat cells doesn't come down. So we have to emphasize right from the childhood to avoid excess fat in our diet. So weight loss of at least 5% will definitely bring some difference in the fat cell size. Now, what is lipogenesis? Lipogenesis is a process of generating lipids, nothing but the formation of lipids. How these lipids are formed? When there are excess amount of calories, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, they are converted into lipids and stored in the liver. Now, very important thing we have to discuss here is toxins. Okay, what is a relation between toxins which we get from the food and also from the environment, and its relation to the fat, and how it is finally related to obesity. So exposure to toxins come from two main sources. One is environmental and from within, which includes pesticides, industrial compounds, solvents, detergents, cosmetics, then chemicals, coloring substances, and preservatives. Molds on food, which sometimes it is neglected and it is consumed, and bisphenol A found in plastics. So people carry hot food, hot liquids in plastics. So this bisphenol A chemical is released from these plastics, which is a toxin. And byproducts from food preparation, such as acrylamide from French fries, which many people relish, French fries. So this is a substance which comes from chemical released by the while frying. And nitrosamines, which are nothing but the preservatives which are used in curing the meat. And PCAHs, which is found in char-boiled meats, or even if we see in winters, we usually have a habit of taking a corn, which is char-boiled. Now, trans fats from the partially hydrogenated fats. Trans fats are used more to preserve the food, to increase the shelf life of the food. So these trans fats are mostly found in all the bakery items. Now, also some toxins are released from our own gut. So all these toxins, both from inside and outside, they accumulate, and they pose this problem, and they are stored in the liver, and which necessitates the deposition of more fat and obesity development. And during weight loss, these toxins are released from these fat cells. Okay, and it becomes more problematic for the body or for the liver to get rid of fat. So these toxins, they alter metabolism, they disrupt endocrine function, they damage the mitochondria, increase inflammation, oxidative stress, and lower thyroid hormones, and alter circadian rhythms, that is sleeping timings, and also sleeping and waking up timings, and also autonomic nervous system. Now, all these interfere in weight management. Hence, simple lifestyle choices and medical detoxification can help us get rid of this NAFLD. So there are two conditions we see. In men, we see something called android fat. Okay, so android fat is nothing but the apple-shaped truncal abdominal fat, where there is more fat accumulation. And in women, we see gynoid fat. We see a pear-shaped abdominal, pear-shaped abdomen, and also thighs and buttocks, where most amount of the fat is gets accumulated. And women with gynoid type of fat doesn't have a problem of diabetes, but men can have such problems with android fat. And but post-menopausal women may develop android fat in later stages and may develop diabetes. Now I'm sharing you slide here which tells that there are some products which are useful for weight loss. Most of the quacks prescribe these products, something like green tea extracts, okay, which says that it increases the fat metabolism, increases the calorie expenditure, but there are no such evidences. But as it is safe, it can be consumed. Now, guar gum is also safe to consume. It is said that it blocks absorption of dietary fat and increases the feeling of fullness. But there are no evidences that it is really effective. And raspberry ketones, which increases lipolysis, that is breakdown of fat, but there are no evidences, and also it is unsafe for hypertensive patients. And Garcinia cambogia is found in Africa. It is a fruit, and it blocks the enzymes in the body, which convert glucose to fat, and also increases serotonin in brain, limiting the appetite and providing extra energy. So, but there is always a chance of liver damage because of this fruit. So all these things shouldn't be followed for a weight loss. Now, there are also some diets in combination. Recently, we have come across something called keto diet. In keto diet, there is more of ketone bodies formation, which leads to gout. That is, uric acid accumulation goes up, and also there is a temporary loss of water in the body rather than fat. Okay, and also it is seen that it damages the kidney and increases the lipid levels. So it shouldn't be followed. And always, to maintain weight and to decrease weight, there should be a dietary protocol has to be followed, where there is a moderate amount of fat, and the diet should have a low calorie and low carbohydrate, and should concentrate on more protein and high fiber, with physical activity, which is a must. So we should spend what we eat, otherwise it accumulates as fat and leads to NAFLD. So here we'll see some of the examples. Like, if we eat samosa, we get 262 kilocalories. Now, if we eat one aloo paratha, we get 329 kilocalories. And one pizza will give 410 calories. And one pasta will give 131 calories. Now, a person who is already onto obesity, and he is consuming such products, then his calorie consumption will go up, but expenditure of calories should be done by him with some sort of exercise. Like in this picture, you have seen, to burn one aloo paratha, you have to do 40 minutes of running, and to burn one pasta, you have to work out for 16 minutes. Okay, that is nothing but running. And so these are some of the exercises which a person has to do to spend some calories, so that there isn't any fat accumulation in the body. So here I have listed some of the exercises or physical activity, like walking. If you walk for an hour, you spend 300 to 400 calories. And if you're jogging, then you spend 600 calories per hour. If you're cycling, it is same. Swimming, so swimming, jogging, cycling we can spend 600 calories per hour. And if we are rowing, then it is 840 calories. And jumping jumping consumes lots of energy, then 1000 calories are being burned. So if you can do such exercises, and if you can take out some time in a day, only then you can afford to eat such diets. Otherwise, you should avoid such high calorie foods in your regular diets. Now, dietary principles of NAFLD. So low fat diet, which is 20 to 25 grams per day, has to be consumed. Moderate to high protein diet, 50 to 60 grams per day has to be consumed. Low calorie, which is 13 to 1400 calories per day. Now, moderate carbohydrate, 150 grams per day. High fiber, 30 grams per day. And vitamin and mineral rich foods has to be consumed to prevent NAFLD. Now, hence, adequate protein intake, which increases the lean body mass and low fat diet, which doesn't increase the accumulation of fat in the body, and complex carbohydrates, nothing but these fruits, green leafy vegetables, salads, sprouts, which are high in fiber, and also some of the millets. They help us in feeling satiety, and we do not feel hungry, and we do not tend to eat more fatty foods, and refined sugars and high calorie food has to be avoided, and physical activity is must. And most important is vitamins and minerals have to be taken from the natural diet, because as we have seen that excess of fat soluble vitamins become toxic to the liver, and water soluble vitamins like vitamin B and C can be obtained from green leafy vegetables and fruits, and also milk and milk products. Milk can be low in fat, and also avoid cheese, butter, and other milk products which are high in fat. So in this way, we can maintain the dietary, we can maintain the diet so that we avoid this NAFLD. Okay. So take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. You can stop sharing your screen so that we can get everyone. There are a few questions on the chat box.
Chat box.
Yes, yes. We'll start with the first one. Yeah. What is the reason for bulging of liver? What needs to be taken care?
Yeah, as we have discussed, for the bulging of the liver, fat is the main reason. So we have to avoid excess fat in our diet. So it can be meat, it can be from the vegetarian and non-vegetarian sources. If you speak about the vegetarian sources, the excess amount of calories, like let it be sugar items, donuts, biscuits, excess amount of even rice. So if we are not spending them, they accumulate, they get converted into triglycerides and get accumulated in our liver. So that is also one of the reasons for vegetarians. And if meat eaters, direct cholesterol and direct fat comes from the animal sources. So these are all the reasons for bulging or inflammation of the liver. But there are also other conditions where because of alcohol consumption, here we are talking about only non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So these are the conditions, but maybe a person taking fatty food, and also along with them, if they are taking alcohol, then it's the liver gets deteriorated more faster.
Okay, which cooking oil needs to be considered?
Okay, cooking oil, we have two types of, we should bear in mind that we have actually two types of fats, something called monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. So there should be a combination of both the fats so that our heart is healthy. Monounsaturated fatty acids we get from the seed oil, like peanuts and also till, mustard. So these all give us monounsaturated fatty acids. And polyunsaturated fatty acids we get from safflower oil and sunflower oil. So you can use seed oil in this month, and next month you can go for flower oil, or in the morning you can use seed oil, in the night, at night you can use flower oil. Like that you can change the oils.
What about gluten-free items?
Sorry? Gluten-free items?
Gluten-free items, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Gluten is nothing but a protein which comes from the wheat. Okay. So gluten has no relation with fatty liver, and a person who is sensitive to gluten should avoid gluten. So he can have other things like oats is okay with him, and jowar is okay. So mostly it is bajra, rai, and wheat. Barley also.
What about pure ghee? What fatty acids does it fall under?
Pure ghee is nothing but the saturated fats. Okay. Usually many recommend pure ghee, but what I feel is as a nutritionist, only till certain age you can consume ghee, because in childhood you will have good physical activity, but when you are having a sedentary lifestyle, so I don't think you should consume saturated fats more, because when you are not spending them, ultimately they go to liver, and your liver may become fatty again.
What is the main cause of pancreatitis?
Okay, the most important cause of pancreatitis is alcohol. Okay. Many people will get pancreatitis just because of alcohol, and that is the most important reason for pancreatitis. It is nothing but the inflammation of pancreas, and at that time we avoid fat. To the patient, we ask him to avoid fat, because pancreas is not in a condition to digest fat.
If liver is so important, where the bile duct is concerned, is bile duct cancer common?
Bile duct cancer is common.
No, is it common? Is she asking? She's asking if liver is so important where the bile duct is concerned, is bile duct cancer common?
Okay. Actually, bile duct cancer comes just because of some obstruction in the bile, or bile is not used by the body. The bile duct body, it may be some obstruction because of the stones. Bile duct cancer comes that way. Liver, I not get your question properly.
Ask your panel. May I ask your panel? Yeah. Parna, I have a friend who's 42 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's in the last stage of cancer.
Okay.
Is already violated. In fact, all the organs of the body, and the doctor has diagnosed it as due to bile duct cancer.
Okay.
A very healthy, always has been a very healthy man. So at this stage of my life, bile duct cancer for me has never been common. Okay, now hearing you is quite an eye opener. But where does that play a part in the liver functioning?
Okay.
That's my question to you. The fact that bile duct is a very important part of liver functioning, okay? The bile duct gets so violated, all right, that the liver has to be so diseased with cancer eventually.
But here the bile duct is cancerous, no, ma'am? Not the liver.
Yes, it's not the liver.
Okay.
But they found it in the liver before the bile duct.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe then the carcinogenic cells would have
traveled over there.
In the bloodstream. They would have gone into the bile duct. Liver cancer, actually cancer itself does not have a proper etiology.
Right, you're very right. Okay, you're very right.
No etiology, it's all unfortunate. And also, was the patient okay, as you said, he or she was very healthy, right?
Absolutely healthy. The first signs were vomiting. Okay. And then
what was the age, madam?
42 years old. 42.
Female, male?
Male.
And no abdominal obesity?
Nothing whatsoever. One of the slimmest men, ran the most. The reason why I'm asking you this question is because you're so conversant with cancer also. Teetotal.
Okay.
Absolute teetotal.
Okay. then there isn't any reason.
Yeah. The doctors are also very confused and are using him as a research case also.
Mhm.
See? So I was quite surprised. I mean that, you see, the bile duct also plays a very important part for the liver functioning. Okay.
Mhm.
And for that to have come up, and now you surprised me more by saying it's very common.
So this whatever the cancer she has already developed in the liver, it has gone to bile duct.
Onto the bile duct.
Bile duct only the main important function of bile duct is to store bile and release it whenever it is required in the digestion part into the duodenum. So whenever it is required. So maybe some obstruction somewhere, and sometimes what happens is this hepatocellular carcinoma. We see that the cells themselves. I mean, it may be some genetic changes.
Okay.
DNA aberrations where it becomes cancerous.
Thank you, Aparna.
Welcome.
So, ma'am, can you help us with some foods that can cleanse the liver? Like, say, my liver is bad, not due to drinking or not due to alcohol, but since this is non-alcoholic, you're talking about the non-alcoholic liver disease. So, say non-alcoholically, my liver is, not very good. So, how do I cleanse it? And is there any way I can bring it back to normal? Foods.
Yes.
I'm talking about foods.
Yes, foods.
Not medication.
Okay.
Foods. Yes.
Yes. There isn't any medication even, as I have told you. We have to concentrate only on foods. Fruits play important role because it has antioxidant in them. Okay.
Which fruits? Any particular fruits?
All types of fruits which are dark in color. Like any fruit, let it be. Most important are seasonal fruits. Citric fruits are more in vitamin C. Then you have this seasonal fruits like mango, then papaya, which is rich in vitamin A, both mango and papaya, vitamin C, and also pineapple. And these berries are there, which has a high ORAC value called oxygen radical absorption capacity. ORAC is that. And what happens is when there are free radicals which are releasing from the cells, those free radicals are absorbed by this. They are stabilized by the electrons which are supplied by these fruits. Okay, that's how they act as an antioxidant. So fruits are very important. Then vegetables also, fresh vegetable juices can be had. But most important thing to be remembered is you have to take organic vegetables. If vegetables are like full of pesticides and all, it doesn't really cleanse the liver. So that way, and also vegetables give fiber, even fruits give fiber. Excess fat, whatever is there in the body, it goes away from the fecal matter. So that's how fiber plays an important role. So we hardly find any organic stuff these days. Otherwise, food itself acts as a good cleansing material. Other than these things, exercise is most important. Abdominal exercise.
So if I follow this pattern of a good diet and having fruits and vegetable juices, good food, so how long would it take my liver to come back to normal?
Maybe 1-2 months.
Okay. Strictly if you follow for 1
Strictly if you follow, yes. You yourself can see the reduction in weight. And also for the belly fat to come down, you have to work on some asanas, which stretches your body and which give some movements around the abdomen. So only walking will not do. And also decrease the consumption of caffeine. Okay, have healthy drinks.
And in case of an alcoholic liver?
Alcohol has to be abstained.
Okay. No, so if I quit alcohol, if I start, so just let's imagine my liver is an alcoholically, it's deteriorating. So it's not in a very good state. So I wanted to bring it back to normal. So I start quit alcohol, good food, good healthy drinks and stuff. I'm continuously strictly following it. So for how long will it take for me to come
back? It will take lots of time because already your liver is damaged.
But it's possible.
See, we have seen that 10 to 20% of the liver is enough to maintain our body functions.
Oh,
so
okay.
Most of it is, even if it is damaged, that's why in spite of drinking so much of alcohol, people are alive doing their normal functions. If it was 50 to 60% of the liver involved in body functions, then maybe a few months of alcohol consumption, we would get good occupancy in our hospitals.
Okay. So is there any other questions from anybody? I think only Siddiq had questions, then Farida ma'am and me. So I hope the session was interesting, and I hope you learned something. These are very small sessions. So, we don't want to go and bore you. So we wanted to be to the point. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Aparna ma'am, for this wonderful session. And we'll keep continuing to do more. I think we'll have to do one session for the alcoholics also. This is for the...
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Aparna, for the session. It gives a lot of ideas, and you gave a lot of information with respect to the nutrition and all exercise. It was a very good session, Aparna. And thanks, Daniel, for conducting this.
You're welcome, Siddiq. By keep attending our webinars. We'll have more interesting ones. And if there is anything you want to talk about, it need not be only food. It could be the coffee that you're drinking to the universe. You want to talk about anything. That's why I call it a conversation. Anything you want to talk about. See, everything is knowledge. Let me know. We'll have a session. So you want to talk about music, you want to talk about games, you want to talk about anything at all, just let me know and we'll have a session. Invite people, share knowledge. So thank you everyone for joining us. Yeah. So see you again next time. Thank you, Aparna ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you very much.
It was very good associated with you, and you are really doing a good job.
Thank you very much, ma'am. If you have not sent your email IDs, please send it to me. I'll send you the link of the recording of this session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, all of you. Bye, ma'am. Bye.